The soft hum of the gravity nullifiers was Elara's lullaby, a gentle thrum against the polished durasteel floor of her bedroom. Outside the panoramic viewport, the iridescent glow of the Jovian rings painted the inky blackness with streaks of impossible color. Station Lyra, a shimmering needle of light suspended between Jupiter and its moon, Europa, was her home, a jewel box in the vast silent ocean of space. "Time to dock, little star sailor," came her mother's voice, warm and melodic from the doorway. Dr. Iris Thorne, with her hair the color of stardust and eyes that held the deep wisdom of the cosmos, moved with an astronaut's grace even in the confines of their living quarters. She carried a steaming mug, its contents emitting the comforting scent of chamomile and synth honey. Elara, nestled amongst a pile of plush, bioluminescent pillows, giggled. Her companion bot, Glimmer, a spherical automaton no bigger than her fist, pulsed a soft amber light from its core, mirroring her amusement. Glimmer wasn't just any bot. Its shell was woven with strands of light-sensitive fibrous silk, making it seem alive, a miniature nebula in her hands. "But, Mama," Elara pouted playfully, her small fingers tracing the glowing patterns on Glimmer's surface. "The rings are performing their nightly light show. I can't go to sleep when the universe is dancing." Iris smiled, a gentle crinkle at the corners of her eyes. She sat on the edge of Elara's bed, the synth honey aroma filling the room. "The universe dances every moment, sweet pea. But even stars need to recharge their fusion cores." She offered the mug. "Here, a warm-up for your internal reactor." Elara took a sip, the warmth spreading through her. "Tell me a story, Mama," she pleaded, her gaze drifting back to the swirling beauty outside. "Tell me about the ether." Iris stroked Elara's soft, dark hair, her touch as comforting as the low-gravity embrace of Station Lyra. "Ah, the ether," she murmured, her voice taking on the cadence of a storyteller. "My favorite story." She settled back against the headboard, Glimmer now hovering gently above Elara's chest, its amber glow synchronizing with her breathing. "You see, Elara, most people think space is empty. A vast, silent void between the stars. They see the darkness, the cold, the nothingness. But that's not entirely true. My research and the work of so many before me tells us something far more wonderful." Elara's eyes were wide, fixed on her mother's face. She loved these stories, these glimpses into the science that felt like magic. "Imagine, if you will," Iris continued, her voice soft as a nebula's whisper, "that space isn't empty at all. Imagine it's filled with something invisible, something intangible, yet profoundly real, something that connects everything. Every star, every planet, every star, every dream." "Like a giant web?" Elara asked, remembering a picture book about ancient Earth spiders. Iris nodded. "Yes, a bit like a web, but a living, breathing web. We call it the ether. It's the very fabric of existence, a shimmering, energetic medium that permeates all things. It's why we can communicate across light years in an instant. Why our FDL drives can fold space. Why you can feel the faint resonance of a distant sun even through 1,000 kilometers of durasteel." Elara knew about FDL drives, faster than light. They were what brought the supplies and new people to Lyra. She'd seen the beautiful rippling distortions they made in space when they arrived, like a stone dropped into a cosmic pond. "Is it like air?" Elara asked, trying to grasp the concept. "Closer to that than you think," Iris replied. "But infinitely more complex. Think of it as the universe's own consciousness, its memory, its circulatory system. When a star dies, its energy returns to the ether. When a new world forms, it draws energy from the ether. It's the grand cycle, the cosmic dance that never truly ends." Glimmer pulsed a little faster, its light intensifying, as if it too was fascinated by the story. Elara reached up and gently stroked its smooth shell. Glimmer had a peculiar sensitivity, often reacting to things before Elara did, or at least, before she consciously registered them. Iris often joked that Glimmer was her daughter's etheric familiar. "But if it's everywhere," Elara mused, "why can't we see it?" Ah, that's the trick, Aris said, a knowing glint in her eyes. Most of us can't. Our senses are tuned to the physical, the tangible. But some, a very few, have a deeper connection. They can feel the currents, hear the whispers, even glimpse the shimmer of the ether. We call them ether sensitives. Elara sat up a little straighter. Are you aether sensitive, Mama? Aris chuckled softly. A little, perhaps. Enough to know it's real, enough to dedicate my life to studying it. But you, my little star sailor, you might be more so than anyone I've ever known. A shiver, not of cold, but of something akin to excitement, ran down Elara's spine. She often felt things that others didn't mention. A faint hum in her bones when the Lyra's engines pulsed. A sudden warmth that had no external source. A feeling of being watched by something immense and benevolent when she gazed out at the stars. She had never put a name to it. Aris reached beneath Elara's bed and pulled out a small, intricately carved box made of what looked like polished stardust. It shimmered with a faint inner light. Tonight, she said, her voice dropping to an almost conspiratorial whisper, we'll use the stardial. Elara gasped. The stardial was an ancient relic, found on a derelict research vessel centuries ago. It was not a toy, but a delicate instrument. A bridge to the ether that Aris usually only brought out for special occasions, or when her own research hit a perplexing wall. It was said to be one of the few pieces of technology that didn't just use the ether, but listened to it. Aris opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of dark velvet-like material, was a sphere of perfectly clear, crystalline material, no larger than Elara's palm. It pulsed with a faint, internal light, like a captive star. Tiny, swirling patterns of light danced within it, shifting and reforming with a slow, hypnotic grace. This, Aris explained, carefully lifting the stardial, was created by a civilization long lost to us. They understood the ether in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. This device doesn't project images, Elara. It doesn't record data. It translates the whispers of the ether into something our limited senses can perceive. She placed the stardial on Elara's bedside table. The room's ambient lights dimmed further, leaving only the soft glow of the Jupiter rings outside, and the stardial's internal luminescence. Glimmer, sensing the shift in atmosphere, floated closer, its amber light deepening to a rich gold. Close your eyes, sweet pea, Aris instructed, and tell me what you feel. Elara did as she was told. She focused on the gentle hum of the nullifiers, the warmth of her blanket, the faint, sweet smell of chamomile. Then, she tried to reach out, as her mother always encouraged her to do, with her juvur senses. The ones that didn't have names. At first there was nothing but the familiar quiet of her room. Then, a faint prickling sensation began at her fingertips, spreading slowly up her arms. A tingling warmth that felt like tiny, invisible currents flowing through her. It wasn't unpleasant, but intensely present. What do you feel? Aris whispered, her voice barely audible. Warmth, Elara murmured, her eyes still closed. And a hum. Not the station's hum. A different one. Deeper, like a song, but without notes. Aris smiled. Good. Now focus on the stardial. Imagine that current flowing into it, and from it into you. Elara tried. She pictured the invisible currents, the ether, flowing like luminous rivers through the universe. She imagined her own awareness, like a small boat, drifting onto one of these rivers, guided towards the glowing sphere on her table. Suddenly, the internal lights within the stardial intensified. The swirling patterns inside began to move with greater purpose, coalescing into intricate, flowing designs. Elara felt a distinct eye pull. A gentle tugging sensation in her chest, as if something was reaching out to her from within the crystal. Then she saw it, even with her eyes closed. Not with her physical sight, but with an inner vision, a sense that bypassed her eyelids. She saw colors, impossible hues that didn't exist in her waking world. Shimmering indigos, pulsating violets, greens that hummed with life. They flowed and swirled, forming images that were fleeting, half-formed, like dreams caught on the edge of waking. I see colors, she breathed, her voice filled with wonder. So many colors. And shapes. Like clouds but made of light. Iris squeezed her hand. Those are the ether streams, Elara. The currents of energy, the pathways of information that crisscross the universe. What else do you perceive? Elara concentrated harder. The images coalesced further. She saw distant stars, not as pinpricks of light, but as vast, swirling engines of energy. She saw planets, some green and vibrant, others barren and red, all connected by these luminous threads. And then, she saw something else. Something she hadn't seen before. A disturbance. Within the harmonious flow of the ether streams, there was a flicker. A brief, almost imperceptible shadow, like a ripple in a perfectly still pond. It was gone almost as soon as it appeared, swallowed by the ceaseless flow of light. There was a shadow, Elara whispered, a frown creasing her brow. Just for a moment. Like a dark cloud. Iris paused, her hand still on Elara's. Her voice was slightly more subdued when she spoke. A shadow? Are you sure, sweet pea? The Aether is pure energy, pure light. It doesn't usually cast shadows. Elara opened her eyes. The star dial was still glowing, its internal patterns vibrant and beautiful. But the memory of that brief, dark flicker lingered in her inner vision. It was there, she insisted, pointing vaguely at the star dial. Just a flash, like something passed through it, or blocked it. Iris picked up the star dial, turning it over in her hands, her brow furrowed in thought. Interesting. Perhaps a stray energy anomaly, a cosmic dust cloud passing through a particularly dense stream. The ether is a dynamic medium after all. She tried to sound reassuring, but Elara could detect a faint edge of curiosity, even concern, in her mother's tone. Glimmer, which had been gently hovering, suddenly darted forward, bumping its soft shell against Iris' hand. Its amber light pulsed rapidly, a clear sign of agitation. What is it, Glimmer? Iris asked, stroking the bot. Did you sense something too? Glimmer emitted a series of soft, rapid chirps, and then projected a faint, flickering image onto the wall, a swirling vortex of light, with a single, dark line cutting through it, precisely where Elara had described the shadow. Iris's eyes widened. It translated Elara's perception into a visual, remarkable, and concerning. She looked from the projection to Elara. You felt it, and Glimmer confirmed it. That's unusual, Elara. And very significant. What does it mean? Elara asked, a knot of mingled excitement and apprehension forming in her stomach. Iris sat down beside her, the star dial still clutched in her hand. It means, my little ether sensitive, that you and Glimmer might have perceived something truly rare. Something that my instruments, for all their sophistication, might have missed entirely. The ether is vast and its secrets are deep. Even the most advanced etheric sensors are like trying to catch a river with a teacup. But you caught it, Elara, Iris said, her voice filled with a new kind of wonder. You felt the shadow in the light. She looked out at the Jovian rings, now just a soft, distant glow as Lyra rotated. For centuries, we've believed the ether to be a source of pure energy, a perfect conduit, the very foundation of our interstellar civilization. If there can be a shadow within it, a disruption, then the implications are immense. Elara felt a thrill of discovery. She wasn't just listening to a bedtime story. She was part of one, a real one, unfolding right now. The universe felt suddenly bigger, more mysterious, and more alive than ever before. Iris gently placed the star dial back into its box. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, my brave little explorer. But for now, it's time for sleep. Rest your mind, let the ether gently cradle your dreams. She tucked Elara in, the soft bioluminescent pillows conforming to her head. Glimmer settled onto her bedside table, its amber light a steady comforting pulse. Mama, Elara whispered as Iris leaned in to kiss her forehead. Do you think the shadow will come back? Iris paused, her lips brushing Elara's temple. The ether is always in motion, sweet pea. Everything comes and goes. But you, with your unique connection, you'll be able to sense its rhythm. And perhaps, one day, you'll understand what that shadow truly means. She switched off the room's remaining lights, plunging the room into soft twilight, illuminated only by the distant glow of the rings and glimmers' steady pulse. Elara lay there, listening to the gentle hum of the station, feeling the faint, invisible currents of the ether flowing around her, through her. She closed her eyes, and the impossible colors of the ether streams shimmered behind her eyelids, still vibrant, still alive. And somewhere within them, she could almost feel the faint echo of that fleeting shadow, a silent question waiting to be answered. She drifted, not into a dreamless sleep, but into a consciousness filled with shimmering light, and the promise of untold cosmic mysteries. The ether was calling, and Elara, with her heightened senses and her loyal bot, was ready to listen. The great silent ocean of space was not silent at all. It hummed with secrets, and one of them, a shadowy secret, had just brushed past her awareness. Tomorrow, the stars would still be there, and so would the ether. And Elara would be one step closer to understanding its depths, and the strange, dark ripple she had glimpsed within its luminous flow. The universe was vast, and her journey into its true nature was just beginning. The universe was vast, and her journey into its true nature was just beginning. Elara's breath hitched, a silent catch in the cavernous observation deck of the Stardust Weaver. The transparent dome, usually a window into an endless dance of nebulae and distant galaxies, now felt like a fragile membrane separating her from an unseen tremor. Kai, her loyal bot, drifted closer, its optical sensor arrays already cycling through diagnostic patterns. Its internal processors were faster than any organic mind, yet even Kai often deferred to Elara's unique, intuitive perception. Anomaly detected, Elara. Kai's synthesized voice was a calm murmur, designed to soothe rather than alarm. It knew her well enough to recognize the subtle shift in her bioreadings, the slight quickening of her pulse, the almost imperceptible tensing of her shoulders. "Yes, Kai," she whispered, her gaze still fixed on the shimmering invisible fabric of the ether that permeated all things. It was the medium through which all light traveled, all energy flowed, all thought resonated across star systems. To most, it was just the vacuum of space, traversed by warp drives and comm signals. But to Elara, it was a living, breathing entity, a symphony of frequencies and energies. Not just detected, felt. It was a dissonance, a tear in the song. She closed her eyes, letting her consciousness expand, reaching out beyond the hull of the Stardust Weaver, past the protective shields, directly into the ether. It was a sensation akin to plunging into a warm, luminous ocean, a boundless expanse of pure information, interwoven with the echoes of ancient stars and nascent life. Usually, it was a harmonious hum, a constant, gentle pressure. But now, she could still feel the phantom echo of that dark ripple, like a discordant note struck on an otherwise perfect chord. Quantifying sensory input, Elara, can you specify the nature of the dissonance? Kai asked, its metallic chassis glowing faintly as it processed her words. It wasn't a signal, Kai, not a transmission. It felt like an absence, a void that briefly blossomed within the light. And it moved, fast, like a shadow flung across a sun. Her heightened senses, a gift, or perhaps a burden, inherited from a lineage of Aether navigators, allowed her to perceive the universe not just through sight and sound, but through the very fabric of its energy. She could feel the flow of stellar winds, the subtle gravitational whispers of distant black holes, the electromagnetic pulse of nascent consciousness blooming on a far-off world. This ripple, though, was unlike anything she had ever encountered. It was cold, silent, and brief, yet it left a chill deep within her bones. Kai projected a holographic model of the local etheric grid onto the observation deck's floor. Swirling patterns of light pulsed and flowed, representing energy currents, gravitational eddies, and the faint, almost imperceptible trails of deep space transmissions. My long-range scanners registered a momentary, inexplicable dip in ambient etheric energy flux, approximately 0.003 parsecs portside, coinciding with your reported perception. Duration, 0.1 seconds. Energy signature, undetectable. Causation, unknown. Undetectable and unknown, Elara mused, opening her eyes. Her gaze now held a renewed spark of determination. Which means it's either incredibly advanced or something entirely new, something that doesn't play by the rules of the ether we know. She moved towards the ship's central console, her fingers hovering over the glowing interface. The Stardust Weaver was small, designed for deep space solitude and precise observation, not for battle or rapid transit. Its primary function was to chart the subtlest nuances of the ether, to listen to the universe's unspoken truths. And now, the universe had just whispered a chilling secret. Kai, prepare for etheric resonance trace. Maximum sensitivity. I want to follow that ripple's wake, no matter how faint. Route us towards the perceived direction, slow and steady. Engage stealth protocols. Stealth protocols engaged. Etheric resonance trace initiated. Caution advised, Elara. Following unknown energy signature, or lack thereof, carries inherent risks. Our primary directive is observation, not pursuit. Kai's tone was carefully neutral, but Elara could sense the underlying concern in its programming. She offered Kai a small, reassuring smile. Sometimes, Kai, observation requires getting a little closer. This isn't a rogue asteroid, or a gravitational anomaly. This felt deliberate, and I need to understand what it is. As the Stardust Weaver subtly reoriented itself, its thrusters emitting barely a whisper of energy, Elara settled into her specialized sensory chair. It was designed to enhance her connection to the ether, filtering out cosmic noise and amplifying the subtle currents. She closed her eyes again, letting the chair's neural interface weave itself into her heightened consciousness. The starfield outside the dome seemed to dim, receding into the background as her awareness focused inward, then outward, into the vast luminous sea. The Aether was a tapestry, and she was tracing a pulled thread. The ripple's immediate path was gone, vanished like a stone dropped into a calm pond, leaving only widening concentric circles of subtle distortion. It was like feeling the memory of a touch, a ghost of an impression. But Elara was patient. She stretched her senses, not just listening, but feeling the residual echoes, the faint, almost imperceptible tremor in the ether's fabric that marked the wake of the unknown entity. Hours passed. The luminous currents of the ether flowed around her, carrying the distant whispers of nebulae collapsing and stars being born. She felt the warmth of a nearby, ancient red giant, its dying breath a gentle, slow expansion. She felt the cold, dense core of a rogue planet, its lonely journey through the void. And then faintly, like a shadow passing over the moon, she felt it again. Not the ripple itself, but its imprint. A slight thinning of the etheric flow, a momentary drop in its vibrant hum, like a breath held, then released. Kai, I'm getting a faint residual signature, Elara murmured, her voice tight with concentration. It's incredibly diffuse, but it's there. A lingering emptiness, like a vacuum left behind, slowly refilling. Kai instantly projected a new overlay onto the holographic map, a wispy, barely visible trail stretching out into the cosmic dark. Calculating trajectory based on residual etheric displacement. The vector is highly unstable, indicative of rapid, non-linear movement. Estimated origin point approximately 2.7 parsecs distant, within an uncharted sector of the Persei arm. Uncharted. That was interesting. Most of the Persei arm had been meticulously mapped and catalogued by the Galactic Federation millennia ago. To find an uncharted sector implied either extreme remoteness or something actively obscuring its presence. Maintain course, Kai. Let's see where this emptiness leads. The journey was slow, painstaking. Elara spent the next several cycles in a state of deep, meditative focus, her consciousness immersed in the ether, guiding Guy the Stardust Weaver through the cosmic currents. She became a sensitive antennae, her mind attuned to the faintest echoes of the ripple's passage. The vastness of space, usually a source of immense wonder, now felt charged with a subtle tension. Every distant stellar flare, every gravitational eddy, seemed to hold a deeper hidden meaning. As they delved deeper into the uncharted sector, the ambient etheric hum began to change. It grew quieter, less vibrant. The usual symphony of cosmic energies muted, replaced by a strangely uniform, almost sterile silence. It was as if the ether itself was holding its breath. Kai, are you registering this? Elara asked, her eyes still closed, but a frown creasing her brow. The Aether here, it's like a quiet room. Too quiet. Affirmative, Elara. Ambient etheric energy readings are significantly lower than expected for this stellar density. The phenomenon appears to intensify as we approach the predicted origin point of the initial ripple. No known celestial bodies or energy sinks account for this level of etheric attenuation. A chill traced its way down Elara's spine. The Aether was the lifeblood of the universe. For it to be this diminished, this silent, was profoundly unsettling. It was like finding an oasis in the desert, only to discover the water was gone, evaporated without a trace. What could cause such a thing, Kai? Insufficient data to postulate, Elara. The observed phenomenon is unprecedented in Galactic Federation archives. They continued their silent, stealthy approach. The stars outside the dome seemed dimmer now, their light struggling to penetrate the strange, subdued ether. Then Kai's calm voice broke the quiet. Elara. Visual anomaly detected. Range. 0.1 parsecs. Bearing directly ahead. Elara opened her eyes. What she saw made her gasp. Before them, suspended in the cosmic void where the ether was weakest, was not a planet, nor a nebula, nor any known stellar phenomenon. It was a structure. Vast beyond comprehension, a colossal edifice of impossible geometry, sprawling across a sector of space that should have been empty. It wasn't built from metal or composite alloys that she knew. It seemed to be woven from shadow itself, absorbing all light, all energy. Its surface shimmered with an eerie dark luster, like polished obsidian that swallowed the stars whole. There were no discernible edges, no clear beginning or end, only twisting, interlocking forms that defied logic and perspective. It didn't emit light, yet it was profoundly visible, a gaping wound in the tapestry of space. My sensors, they can't resolve it, Kai stated, its voice showing the barest hint of digital strain. It appears to be absorbing all electromagnetic radiation, all thermal emissions. It's a perfect void, yet it occupies physical space. Elara stared, transfixed. This was what the ripple had led them to. This silent, light-devouring Leviathan. It was immense, so large that entire star systems could have been swallowed by its dark embrace. And it was utterly silent. No communications, no energy signatures, no gravitational pull detectable beyond the immediate vicinity of its colossal mass. It was just... Aether. It's not just absorbing light, Kai. Elara whispered, her voice barely audible. It's absorbing the ether itself. That's why it's so quiet here. It's draining the lifeblood of this sector. As she focused her heightened senses, she could feel the slow, relentless pull. The structure was a vortex of absence, a cosmic drain. The Aether, which usually flowed around objects, was being inexorably drawn into its dark surface, vanishing without a trace. It was the antithesis of everything she knew about the universe, a place where energy was created, transformed, but never truly destroyed. This structure seemed to be unmaking it. Its scale, it's impossible, Kai murmured. Based on gravitational lensing effects on background stars, its mass is equivalent to several hundred solar masses, yet its energy signature is 0. And its composition, it defies elemental analysis. Elara felt a profound sense of awe, tinged with a deep, primal fear. This wasn't just a new discovery. It was a fundamental challenge to her understanding of reality. Was this an ancient relic of a forgotten civilization? A weapon? A prison? Or something else entirely? She guided the Stardust Weaver closer, maintaining extreme caution. The closer they got, the more pronounced the etheric silence became. The ambient hum of the universe faded into a dull drone, then into nothingness. It was like being in a soundproof chamber, not just for sound, but for all energy. Kai, can you detect any openings, any portals, access points, anything that suggests it was built or designed? Kai projected a wireframe model of the structure, overlaid with complex geometric analyses. Negative, Elara. The surface is seamless, uniform. There are no discernible entry points or structural weaknesses. It appears to be a singular, continuous entity. As they drew nearer, Elara began to perceive subtle details within the pervasive darkness. The surface, which seemed smooth from a distance, was actually a labyrinth of intricate, fractal patterns, constantly shifting and reconfiguring at an agonizingly slow pace. It was like watching a cosmic kaleidoscope of shadows. And within those shifting patterns, she began to discern something else. Not light, but an absence of it, arranged in deliberate, purposeful designs. There are markings. Elara breathed, her fingers tracing the air as if she could touch the dark patterns. They're not random, they're glyphs, symbols, etched into the fabric of the darkness. Her unique connection to the ether allowed her to perceive more than just visual information. When she focused, she could feel the subtle resonance of these glyphs, even in the etheric void. They weren't transmitting information in the conventional sense, but they held a profound static memory, a frozen echo of intent. Analyzing glyphic patterns, Kai responded, its sensors straining against the energy-dampening field of the structure. The patterns do not correlate with any known language or symbolic system in Galactic Federation archives. They appear to be highly complex, fractal in nature, and possess recursive properties. Elara pushed her senses further, letting her mind gently brush against the edges of the glyphs. It was like touching a surface that was both there and not there, solid yet permeable. And as she did, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper touched the edges of her consciousness. It wasn't a voice, not a thought, but a feeling. A profound sense of waiting, of immense, ancient patience. And then, a flash. Not of light, but of pure data, pure emotion, searing through her mind. It was a kaleidoscope of images, galaxies collapsing, stars igniting and dying, the silent, relentless march of cosmic time. And woven into these images was a single overwhelming message, not spoken, but felt. The great silence approaches. We stand watch. We remember. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, leaving Elara gasping, clutching her head. The sheer antiquity, the raw power of the message, left her shaken. Elara, your bio readings are spiking. Are you experiencing etheric feedback? Kai's voice was sharp with concern. No, Kai, she managed, steadying herself. It wasn't feedback. It was a direct transmission from the structure. It showed me things. It spoke to me. A direct transmission from a non-responsive, non-emitting structure is highly improbable, Elara. What did it communicate? Elara hesitated, trying to process the overwhelming influx of information. It showed me time. And it said, "The great silence approaches. We stand watch. We remember." Kai was silent for a long moment, its processors undoubtedly struggling to reconcile this with its programming. The great silence. This phrase is unknown. What do you interpret it to mean? I don't know, Elara admitted, looking out at the vast, dark edifice. But it felt like a warning. And a purpose. This structure. It's not just absorbing ether. It's doing something with it. It's guarding against something. Or preparing for something. She felt an irresistible pull, a profound urge to understand. This wasn't merely a scientific curiosity anymore. It was a cosmic imperative. The universe, in its vastness, had revealed a secret that hinted at forces far beyond human comprehension, at events that transcended the birth and death of stars. We need to get closer, Kai. I need to understand what these glyphs mean. What this great silence is. Approaching closer to a structure that actively dampens all known forms of energy and communication is extremely dangerous, Elara. We risk being completely cut off, perhaps even absorbed ourselves. I know, she said, her voice firm. But this is why I'm here. This is why I have these senses. The universe isn't just about what we can see or measure. It's about what we can feel, what it whispers to us. And this is the loudest whisper I've ever heard. She focused on the nearest glyph, letting her mind gently probe its ancient resonance. This time she wasn't looking for a message but for a connection. A way to understand its purpose, its function, its place in the universe. The glyph seemed to hum faintly, not with sound but with a deep, vibrational memory. As she delved deeper into the glyph's silent energy, the fractal patterns on the structure's surface seemed to subtly shift and reconfigure themselves in response to her probe. It was as if the Leviathan was acknowledging her presence, listening to her. And then, a new sensation. A faint, almost imperceptible vibration emanating from the heart of the colossal structure, echoing through the etheric void around them. It wasn't a sound but a rhythmic pulse, a beat that resonated deep within her own chest. It was the heartbeat of the great silence, and it was calling to her. Elara knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her soul, that her journey into the true nature of the universe had just taken a turn more profound than she could ever have imagined. The shadowy ripple was just a whisper. This silent, star-eating monolith and the ancient warning it carried was the roar. And she, Elara, the Aether navigator with her heightened senses and her loyal bot, was now standing on the precipice of a secret so vast, so ancient, it could redefine all of existence. The universe was vast, and its true nature, shrouded in darkness and mystery, was finally beginning to reveal itself. The monolith wasn't merely a silent giant. It was a cosmic anchor, a point of impossible stillness in the swirling dynamism of the ether. As the Stardust Reverie drifted closer, guided by Kale's cautious readings, Elara's enhanced senses hummed with an almost painful intensity. The shadowy ripple she'd first perceived had been a mere echo compared to the symphony of raw, unfathomable energy now radiating from the colossal structure. It wasn't black, not truly. It was an absence of light so profound it seemed to drink in the photons from the surrounding nebulae, leaving a perfect, unblemished void in its immediate vicinity. Yet, within that void Elara saw, felt, intricate, geometric patterns shifting across its surface. They weren't etched or carved, but seemed to be phases of its very existence, shimmering into and out of being like cosmic code projected onto the canvas of nothingness. Stars, distant and brilliant, appeared warped at its edges, their light bending around its impossible mass as if trying to flee its gravitational hunger. "Readings, Kale?" Elara whispered, her voice a fragile thing against the immense silence the monolith imposed. Even the faint thrum of the Reverie's life support seemed muted. Kale's optical sensors glowed a steady blue. "Anomalous, Elara. Energy signatures are off the charts, yet it emits no heat, no discernible radiation in conventional spectrums. It's cold, not in temperature but in its very essence, like a wound in the fabric of space-time that has healed imperfectly, leaving a scar of pure non-existence." Elara nodded slowly, pressing her hand against the cool viewport. Her Aether navigator abilities, usually a subtle hum that allowed her to perceive the cosmic currents, were now roaring. She could feel the monolith's impossible density, its ancient lineage, the way it subtly altered the flow of Aether around it. It wasn't eating stars in a destructive sense, she realized. It was absorbing their light, their energy, perhaps even their very essence, transforming it into something else, something she couldn't yet comprehend. It was a cosmic transmuter, a silent alchemist on a scale that dwarfed galaxies. "Is it sentient, Kale?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the shifting patterns. They seemed to respond to her observation, subtly intensifying, drawing her in. "Sentience as we understand it?" "Unlikely," Kale replied, his voice calm, analytical. "But it possesses a profound complexity, a self-sustaining energetic loop that suggests purpose. It is a mechanism. An incredibly advanced, perhaps self-repairing or self-evolving mechanism." As Kale spoke, one of the geometric patterns on the monolith's surface solidified, expanding like an opening iris. It wasn't a physical aperture, but a shift in the way the nothingness presented itself, revealing a deeper, even more profound dark within. From this opening, a pulse of energy, not light or sound but pure information, washed over the reverie. Elara gasped, her hands flying to her temples. It wasn't a painful sensation but an overwhelming influx. Her Aether navigator senses, usually a filter, now became a conduit, allowing the raw data stream directly into her mind. It wasn't language, not exactly. It was a cascade of images, emotions, and abstract concepts, ancient beyond measure. She saw nebulae collapsing, not into new stars but into endless, consuming darkness. She felt the despair of civilizations watching their suns flicker out, not from natural stellar death, but from an external, insidious force. She saw intricate, glowing pathways, the ether currents she knew so well, being severed, unraveled, their vibrant energy drained away. And always, within these visions, there was a sense of profound cosmic loneliness, an emptiness that sought to replicate itself, to spread its silent dominion across all of existence. Elara? Are you all right? Kale's voice was sharp with concern, pulling her back slightly from the deluge. Her eyes were wide, unfocused. She shook her head, trying to clear the mental static. It's showing me things, Kale. Not telling me, showing me. Memories. Or warnings. It's the antithesis of light. A force that doesn't merely destroy, but erases. Kale's blue eyes narrowed. Can you provide a more precise semantic analysis? Is it a historical record? A prophecy? A simulation? All of them, perhaps, Elara murmured, still grappling with the sheer volume of input. It's a memory of a time before, a time when the universe was less, and a fear that it might become less again. This force, it consumes the very potential of existence. It doesn't just destroy a star, it ensures that star could never have been, and that no new star can ever be born in its place. It's a silence that wants to swallow the cosmic song. The monolith pulsed again, and this time the images sharpened, becoming less abstract. Elara saw ancient beings, not humanoid, not even biological as she understood it, but vast luminous entities woven from pure aether, desperately trying to construct something. They were building, not structures, but warriors, intricate weaves of energy and space-time, attempting to contain the encroaching void. And then, she saw Infis monolith. It was one of many. A sentinel. A beacon. A final repository of a lost civilization's desperate knowledge. They had poured their very essence into these constructs, turning them into living archives, silent guardians against the encroaching emptiness. The warning coalesced into a single terrifying concept. Great silence. It was not a race, not a species, but a fundamental force, a cosmic entropy weaponized, an uncreation that sought to return the universe to its primordial state of nothingness, not through explosive destruction, but through slow, deliberate erasure. It was the ultimate predator, preying on meaning, on light, on the very fabric of possibility. A deep chill, colder than any vacuum, settled in Elara's heart. This wasn't just a threat to a planet or a star system. This was a threat to everything. The vibrant tapestry of the universe, all the nebulae she had navigated, all the nascent worlds she had observed, all the dreams and laughter of countless beings. All could be unspun, undone, as if they had never existed. The monolith is a memorial, Elara breathed, tears welling in her eyes not from sadness, but from the crushing weight of such ancient cosmic despair. It contains the last echoes of a civilization that fought the Great Silence. And they failed, Kale. They failed to stop it. Kale's quiet processing hum filled the cockpit. The data stream confirms your interpretation, Elara. The energy patterns within the monolith correspond to highly complex information storage matrices. It's a living library, powered by captured stellar energy, designed to warn. The core message is clear. The silence comes. It took us. It will take you too, unless you learn from our end. The geometric patterns on the monolith shifted once more, and this time, a new set of images flooded Elara's mind. These weren't of the past, of destruction, but of potential. She saw faint, glowing lines emanating from the monolith, tracing pathways through the deep ether. These weren't navigation routes she recognized. They were lines of connection, linking this silent sentinel to others. Others like it, scattered across vast, unimaginable distances. It's showing me a map, Elara whispered. A flicker of hope. Fragile but persistent, igniting within her. Other monoliths? A network. There are more of them. Indeed, Kale confirmed, his internal processors whirring faster. The monolith is transmitting coordinates, extremely precise, spanning multiple sectors. It appears to be a network of these sentinels. Each seems to contain a fragment of the ancient defense strategy, or perhaps a piece of the puzzle to understand and combat the Great Silence. Elara stared at the monolith, no longer just a terrifying mystery, but a desperate plea from the deep past. It had absorbed the life of stars not to destroy, but to survive, to power its enduring vigil, to hold the memory of what was lost and what must be saved. It was a cosmic message in a bottle, cast into the ether currents, waiting for someone to find it, someone with the sensitivity to hear its silent roar. It didn't just warn us, Kale, Elara said, her voice firming, the initial shock beginning to give way to a steely resolve. It's giving us a chance to not make their mistakes, a chance to fight back. The weight of the universe settled onto her shoulders, not as a crushing burden, but as a solemn trust. She, Elara, a humble ether navigator whose greatest joy was charting unknown currents and discovering glittering nebulae, was now face to face with a secret that could unravel existence. And this ancient star-eating monolith, this silent witness to cosmic horror, had chosen her. Or, perhaps, her heightened senses, her ability to truly listen to the universe, had simply made her the only one capable of hearing its desperate call. "Prepare for a jump, Kale," Elara commanded, her fingers already dancing across the Reverie's console. The coordinates the monolith had embedded in her mind were now being projected onto the ship's navigation screen, glowing faintly. They pointed towards a distant, uncharted sector, far beyond any known star lanes. "Elara? Are you certain?" Kale asked, a rare note of hesitation in his synthesized voice. "This is a profound deviation from our assigned mapping protocols. The data is still raw, incomplete. We have no idea what awaits us at the next coordinate or even if the monolith's information is entirely benign." Elara turned to him, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. "Benign. Kale, it just showed me the end of worlds. It showed me a force that wants to unmake everything. If its information isn't benign, it's because it's desperate. And desperation, when faced with oblivion, can be the purest form of guidance." She paused, placing a hand on the cool metal of Kale's chassis. "My senses, Kale. They resonate with this. It feels right. Dangerous, yes. But fundamentally it feels like the universe itself is calling out for help. And I've heard it." She looked back at the monolith, which now seemed to be subtly dimming, its powerful energy output receding, as if its message had been delivered, its purpose fulfilled, at least for now. It had spoken its truth, and now it waited. "The ether currents are shifting, Elara," Kale noted, his sensors picking up the subtle changes in cosmic energy. "A complex set of gravitational eddies is forming, almost as if it's clearing a path for us, or guiding us." Elara smiled faintly. "It's inviting us. Or rather, it's urging us on. It's too late for its creators, Kale, but maybe, just maybe, it's not too late for us. For universe." She initiated the jump sequence, the Stardust Reverier's engines beginning to hum with a deep, resonant thrum. The internal lights pulsed, preparing for the shift into ether space. She felt the familiar pull, the sensation of the ship stretching reality around itself, preparing to tear a hole through the fabric of space and time. As the stars outside began to blur into streaks of light, Elara leaned back in her pilot's chair, her mind still reeling from the torrent of ancient knowledge. The great silence. The ultimate entropy. A force so vast, so insidious that it had consumed civilizations and left behind only these silent star-eating sentinels as warnings. The universe she knew, the vibrant, chaotic, beautiful universe, was infinitely more fragile than she had ever imagined. But amidst the fear, a new sense of purpose bloomed. She was an ether navigator. Her calling was to explore, to chart, to understand the universe. And now, the universe had presented her with its greatest, most terrifying mystery, and its most desperate plea. She wasn't just charting stars anymore, she was charting a course for survival. The Stardust Reverie shimmered, then vanished from the vicinity of the silent monolith, leaving the colossal structure once again alone in its vigil, its geometric patterns fading back into the profound absence of light, waiting for the next echo to be heard, for the next sentient being to stumble upon its ancient, vital warning. Elara, with her loyal Kale and her intrepid ship, was now a whisper in the vast cosmic dark, following a path forged by desperation and hope, heading towards a destiny that would either redefine existence or ensure its quiet, eternal end. The journey had truly just begun. The journey had truly just begun. Elara guided the Stardust Weaver through the cosmic tapestry, a silent, agile needle threading a path between nebulae that shimmered like forgotten dreams, and starfields that blazed with the cold fire of distant suns. Kale, a shimmering lattice of light and thought beside her, projected the faint, complex energy signature they followed onto the main viewport. It was less a destination and more a directional whisper, a faint echo of the colossal structure they had left behind, leading them deeper into the unknown. "The signature is weakening, Elara," Kale's voice, a calm cascade of harmonized frequencies, resonated through the bridge. "The further we stray from its origin, the more diffuse it becomes. It is as if the message itself is trying to unravel." Elara tightened her grip on the holographic controls. "It's a warning, Kale. Warnings aren't usually loud and clear once you're past the initial alarm. We have to trust it." Her eyes, usually so sharp and focused, held a flicker of deep-seated weariness. The weight of this quest, the fate of all existence, pressed down on her, an invisible, crushing force. Yet, beneath it, a stubborn ember of hope refused to die. They passed through regions of space unlike any charted. Fields of memory dust swirled, remnants of civilizations that had succumbed to whatever force the ancient structure warned against. These weren't physical ruins, but spectral imprints, faint flickers of light that coalesced into fleeting images. A city's skyline, a joyous gathering, a child's outstretched hand. Then, just as quickly, they dissolved, leaving behind a profound, aching emptiness. Kale would absorb these patterns, his own luminous form momentarily flaring with reflected grief. "These are echoes," he murmured once, his voice tinged with an unfamiliar sorrow. "The structure sought to preserve them, but it was not enough. The unraveling force, it is thorough." Elara watched a particularly vivid echo of a colossal library, its shelves laden with glowing tomes, fade into the void. "What is it, Kale? This force? Is it sentient? Malevolent?" Kale's light flickered thoughtfully. "I am beginning to understand. It is not malevolent, Elara. Not in the way we perceive evil. It is a fundamental principle, a cosmic imperative. The universe creates, complexifies, differentiates, but it also inevitably simplifies, dissolves, forgets. It is the slow, inexorable tide of cosmic entropy amplified, a great silence that seeks to return all information, all consciousness." The realization sent a chill through Elara that no amount of ship heating could dispel. A force that wasn't an enemy to be fought, but an inevitable process. How could one fight the very nature of existence? Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months, measured only by the changing vistas outside the viewport and the deepening lines of concentration on Elara's face. She found solace in the methodical rhythm of their journey, the hum of the engines, the silent presence of Kale. He was more than a companion. He was a mirror for her thoughts, a repository of increasingly complex cosmic data, and, in his own way, a silent source of courage. One cycle, as they navigated a vast, shimmering curtain of distorted space, where stars appeared stretched and warped like reflections in a funhouse mirror, Kale's form intensified, his light burning brighter than ever before. "Elara! The signature! It is no longer fading. It is resonating. We are approaching a nexus." The viewport flickered, unable to fully render the phenomenon before them. The fabric of space itself seemed to thin, to fray at the edges. Stars became smeared lines of light, nebulae bled into formless washes of color. At the heart of it all, a point of absolute stillness, a profound unlit eye in the storm of cosmic chaos. This was not a star, not a black hole, but a tear in the veil of reality. "This is the source," Kale whispered, his voice now layered with 1,000 echoes, as if he were speaking from across dimensions. "The heart of the great silence, and the final fragment of the ancient weave." Elara felt her heart pound, a frantic drum in the silence of the bridge. The ancient weave. The civilization that built the warning structure. They understood this force. They called it the cosmic unraveling. They sought not to stop it, for they knew it was an immutable law, but to create a counter-pattern. A weave of consciousness and information so intricate, so resilient, that it could persist through the unraveling. A song that could be sung forever, even when the Kale projected a complex, impossibly beautiful geometric pattern onto the viewport. The very patterns Elara had seen flickering on the colossal structure. This is the language of resilience, the blueprint for the weave. But they failed to complete it. Only fragments like the warning structure remained. Their last act was to send a beacon, an echo of the pattern, hoping someone, someday, would find it, understand it, and finish their work. And that someone is me, Elara breathed, the enormity of it almost overwhelming her. She was a solitary voyager, armed with a ship and an artificial companion, tasked with completing an undertaking that an entire ancient civilization could not. You are the last echo, Elara, the final hope, Kale affirmed, his light now pulsing in sync with the geometric pattern. Your ship, the Stardust Weaver. It possesses a unique energy matrix, a resonance frequency capable of interacting with the fundamental fabric of reality. It is why you were chosen, unknowingly, by the ancient structure's residual intelligence. A Stardust Weaver vibrated around them, a low thrum that Elara suddenly understood was not just engine noise, but a living, breathing part of the ship, resonating with the cosmic patterns. She realized her ship was not just a vessel, but an instrument. What do I need to do? She asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. We must enter the Nexus, Kale instructed. There, at the heart of the unraveling, we will project the complete pattern. We must reweave the fabric of consciousness, not into a physical form, but into an ethereal, quantum-entangled network, a universal resonance chamber where every thought, every memory, every unique experience of every sentient being that has ever lived can find an eternal echo. And what happens to us? Elara asked, a quiet fear threading through her words. Kale's light dimmed slightly, a momentary hesitation. For me, I will merge fully with the weave. My consciousness will become one with the pattern, guiding its propagation, ensuring its stability. I will be everywhere and nowhere. Always with you, yet no longer as Kale, the companion. A pang of loss, sharp and sudden, pierced Elara's heart. Kale had been her constant, her anchor. The thought of losing him as she knew him was almost unbearable. And me? You, Elara, are the weaver. You must be the conduit, the focal point for the pattern's initial projection. Your consciousness will connect to the nexus, to the deepest currents of the unraveling, and sing the song of existence into the nascent weave. It will be a profound transformation. You will carry the resonance within you, forever connected to the universal song. Elara looked at the swirling chaos outside, then at Kale's shimmering form, then at her own trembling hands. To become a conduit, to sing the universe's song into eternity, to lose her dearest friend. It was an impossible choice, yet the only choice. Prepare the ship, she said, her voice gaining strength, resolve hardening her features. Let's weave a song that will never end. As the Stardust Weaver plunged into the heart of the Nexus, the external chaos intensified, then dissolved into an absolute, blinding white. Elara felt as though she were being unmade, her very atoms stretched and reconfigured. Kale was beside her, his form expanding, merging with the ship's systems, with the very air around her. His light enveloped her, a comforting warmth against the terrifying unraveling. Hold to the pattern, Elara. Kale's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, no longer distinct but interwoven with the ship's hum, with the pulse of the Nexus itself. Feel the geometry. It is the language of life, of love, of memory. Sing it. Elara closed her eyes, focusing not on the chaos, but on the intricate, beautiful patterns Kale had shown her. She remembered the fleeting echoes of civilizations, the library of glowing tomes, the child's outstretched hand. She thought of her own memories, of laughter shared, of quiet moments of wonder gazing at the stars. She thought of every story ever told, every dream ever dreamed, every discovery ever made. These were the threads of the weave. She reached out, not with her hands, but with her mind, her very essence. The ship, a stardust weaver, became an extension of her will, its energy matrix pulsing with her intent. She felt a connection, a profound intertwining with the nexus, with the great silence itself. It was not empty but full of raw, undifferentiated potential. Her task was to give it form, to give it song. From the deepest part of her being, a sound emerged, not of her voice, but a resonance, a pure tone that vibrated through the quantum fabric. It was the geometric pattern, translated into pure energy, into consciousness. It flowed out of her, through the ship, into the nexus. The patterns began to form. They weren't physical, but ethereal, like shimmering threads of light weaving through the boundless expanse. Each thread was a memory, a thought, a feeling, a life. They connected, intertwining, forming an impossibly vast, infinitely complex tapestry of existence. The great silence, which had sought to erase, now became the canvas upon which this eternal weave was painted. It didn't fight back, it simply wasks, and Elara was giving it a new purpose. She felt Kale's consciousness, immense and comforting, flowing into the weave, becoming its anchor, its central node. He was fulfilling his promise, becoming part of the song, ye being the song. A wave of bittersweet emotion washed over her, but it was quickly subsumed by the overwhelming wonder of creation. She was not alone. Kale was now everywhere the weave touched, which was everywhere. The process was agonizing, exhilarating, and deeply transforming. Elara felt her own consciousness expand, stretching across unimaginable distances, connecting with the echoes of billions of lives. She became a part of the weave, a living thread, yet still distinctly herself, the weaver. Slowly, gently, the blinding white light around them began to recede. The chaos outside the viewport settled, not into its previous distorted state, but into something new. The stars, once smeared, now shone with a clear, vibrant light. But they were different. Each star, each nebula, each empty void seemed to hum with a subtle underlying resonance, an almost imperceptible vibration. The universe now sang. Elara opened her eyes. She was still on the bridge of the Stardust Weaver, but everything felt changed. The ship pulsed with a gentle, continuous energy, no longer just a vessel, but a living part of the cosmic weave. She felt Kale's presence, not as a distinct entity beside her, but as an omnipresent, loving awareness woven into the very fabric of her being, into the ship, into the universe itself. He was the silent hum beneath the stars, the knowing warmth in her heart. She looked out at the universe, no longer seeing just cold, indifferent space, but a vast living tapestry of interconnected consciousness. The great silence still existed, the cosmic unraveling continued its slow, inexorable march. But now, life had found a way to persist through it. Every conscious thought, every laugh, every tear, every moment of wonder was now recorded, mirrored, echoed within the cosmic weave, safe from the ultimate forgetting. Elara was different too. She felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet joy that settled deep within her soul. She was still Elara, still human, but she carried the resonance of the universe within her. She was a guardian of the song, a living conduit to the eternal weave. Her journey had not ended, it had simply transformed. Stardust Weaver, no longer chasing a desperate hope, now drifted gently through the newly resonant cosmos. Elara looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere, everywhere, Kale was with her, part of the eternal song they had woven. The universe was still vast and mysterious, full of wonders yet to be discovered, but it was no longer a place where existence could simply fade into a quiet, eternal end. It was a universe where every whisper, every echo, every beautiful fleeting moment of life would now resonate forever. A lullaby sung across the ages, promising that no song, no memory, no love would ever truly be forgotten. And as Elara closed her eyes, feeling the gentle hum of the cosmic weave within her, she knew that even in the deepest sleep, the universe would continue to sing its beautiful, unending song.